completely different frame now, right? His old frame was, tell me the organizational structure and all of the markers I have to meet to make the perfect product. And I'm like, well, I can give you the organizational structure, but the actuality of you generating is up to you. I can lead you to the door, but you have to walk through and experience the experience, right?
Right.
And he didn't understand that. So I came up with a metaphor. And the metaphor is sort of like this. It's sort of like you're a prize fighter. Say you're Muhammad Ali and you have to fight George Foreman in 1973 in Zaire.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. And Muhammad Ali, you know, they took his crown away from him because of his politics. He's in a difficult position. And George Foreman is the strongest fighter ever.
Yes.
He knocks everyone out.
Yes.
So what does Muhammad Ali do? He has to plan a series of strategies for when he fights George Foreman. Right? So what does he do? He thinks, and he's like, well, how can I make this work? Well, first, I got to work out a lot. I got to get in the best shape of my life. And then I have to figure out what the right strategy is when I have to fight Foreman. So he does that, and he figures it out. I can't out-hit George Foreman. He's too strong for me. But what I can do is take more punishment that George Foreman can.
Right.
So if I can get George Foreman to punch himself out on my body, he will open himself up in exhaustion later on, and that will be so he made a choice. I will sacrifice the pain to my body to win this fight. Yeah. And he's like, okay, that's my strategy. Now, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to get the population to root for me and get him really angry so that he furiously tries to knock me out every fight. And I'm just going to rope-a-dope.
Right.
And then he goes into the ring, and that's what he does. But after every round, he came back to the corner, and I bet he wanted to quit.
Yeah. He said it was the closest he's felt to death in his life.
Exactly. And you know what he did? He said to himself, rope-a-dope. Yeah. It's not time yet. Take more shots. You can do it. You can do it. And then when the time opened, he knocked out George Foreman.
Yeah.
And he suffered the rest of his life because of that strategy.
Yeah.
But in that moment, he transcended time and space. And now when I think about difficult things that I have to deal with in my life, I think about rope-a-dope, man.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali. Imagine being him.
Yeah.
And that's a story that's complex because he let the chaos into his body.
Yes.
The punches, because he had an order that he was going to stand up for. He had a worldview. I am the greatest.
Yeah.
No one will beat me in that ring. Yeah. He will beat himself. I will outsmart him. If I can't outpunch him, I'll outsmart him. And that was the genius of it.
Yes.
And he lived that his entire life. Anyway, so that's a complex story. And there's a great, When We Were Kings is a great documentary about that time.
Right.
So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about complexity. He didn't just go in there and go, bop, bop, done.
Yeah.
And those are the stories that ring false. So when you're writing and you're telling a story, you have to have the attitude of, I'm going in with a strategy, and then I'm going to get punched in the face. I have to flow with the fight. Yeah. I can't win the fight before I get in the ring.
Right.
So that's where the complexity comes in. That's the magic. You go in with a strategy, and Mike Tyson said, then you get punched in the face. Then you go back and you ask your editor, I just got punched in the face. All those plans we made aren't working. And then they say, yes, they will. You just have to go out and execute and flow with the changes. And so that's how the magic comes. And the complexity emerges from the process of, so writing a story is a heroic journey as much as reading one.
Ah, right. What did
It's a creative process.
What did Tim say when you presented that metaphor to him?
He said, I don't want to get hurt.
That's yeah. Good for Tim. That's honesty, because that's what you're pushing up against. Okay. So,
but my point is, like, you cannot transcend without going down.
Yeah.
You've got to get to the bottom before you can go through the wormhole to the top.
Right.
And that's what a story does. The great stories, they bring your protagonist to the very bottom, to an existential crisis, when they have to come up with a Paul Tillich ultimate concern.
Right.
And they have to stop seeing the world as relevant to them. How are they relevant to the world? And that's the magical moment.
Yeah, right. The turning.
When the turn happens, and they are now reorganized, reintegrated into something serving some higher ultimate concern.
And the writer has to actually go through that process as well.
Yes, because what they think that they're writing about is usually not what they're really writing about. So it's a very it can be a traumatic experience to tell a story. And it's a heroic journey, because you need to get to your own depths as the creator before you can have any ability to tell anybody else. I can't tell anyone else's story unless I've experienced those depths myself.
So that means that becoming a good writer, well, I'm going to try this, but I mean, there's a sense in which you have got to have cultivate a certain capacity of virtue. Like you have to have courage, and you have to have some discernment. You have to have a bunch of things in order, above and beyond learning techniques or reading other people's work, which I acknowledge you have to do. I'm not saying that's irrelevant, of course, but you have to be a person that can properly go through a profound transformation. It sounds like this is what you're arguing, in order to write the kind of stories that bring other people to life.
That's exactly correct. So you cannot bullshit transformation.
I think we have a lot of that going on right now. We have a lot of people who are like bullshit transformation rather than undergo transformation. And that's
because it hurts.
Yeah.